It's officially September, which means we're moving on from all the summer makeup. Hopefully it's cooling down where you live. We're getting to put on a little bit more makeup and not have it completely melt off of our faces.
I didn't mean to kill her.
So I compiled a bunch of new products to try in today's video to give you a review, but also to give you some fall makeup inspo. I was on a little bit of a trip, so I haven't posted in a little bit, and it takes me like a while to reacclimate to coming home. I don't know if it's just me, let me know in the comments below, but when I leave somewhere for vacation, I feel like I just get used to being there and then I have to leave again and then readjust to being home. So I've been trying to make like better, more interesting videos lately, but I was like, you know what? Gotta take the pressure off for a little bit, just try on some new makeup, have some fun with the fall vibe. Enough of the talking, let's go. All right, let's get started. I'm putting on some of this Exa All Shimmer Lip Oil. Oh no, it's called All Smiles. This is a shimmery one though called Dreamer. I actually really like these. A bit thinner but still pretty balmy. For the skin, I do have the new Bareminerals Original Serum Foundation I wanted to try on camera. But first, let's do a little bit of skin prep. I have some skincare products from Orgaid here. I hope I'm saying that correctly, that they sent over. This is their balancing toner with B3. This brand, like super pure ingredients if you have very sensitive skin. I did already use this as a little bit of a cleanser today, but let's just do a bit of a mist. Really nice mister, and I love their packaging. It's gorgeous. This I haven't tried yet. This is their youth serum that has hyaluronic acid and vitamin C. Again, very simple, like herbal based ingredients. Has a beautiful, very thin consistency. I hope that it will not pill with the rest of our makeup. Let it sink in a little bit, but fingers crossed. So since this is an oil-based foundation, it can be a little bit tricky in terms of pairing it with primers. So I decided to pull out the Auric Glow Lust Radiant Luminizer. This is the shade Selenite. Moving into fall, I want to do a little bit more full coverage, but I do also want to keep the glow going. So this has both a tint and a glow to it. I didn't absolutely love this when I got it, but now I really sort of appreciate it for what it is. You have like drier skin, it is like creamier and more moisturizing than say the Charlotte Tilbury one is and the e.l.f. one. It is very glowy, so you could totally like avoid textured areas, but I'm just gonna go all over. If you have oily skin and you still want to be able to use this, I would recommend you can just skip moisturizer and use this instead, because it is really emollient and moisturizing feeling on the skin. It doesn't really like dry down. It just adds that glow but also makes your skin feel really nice, and I think it'll go great with the oil-based foundation. So let's talk about this bad boy. This is the Bareminerals Original Pure Serum Radiant Natural Liquid Foundation SPF 20. This sounded so interesting to me because the ingredients are very, very simple and pure. If you have very sensitive skin, this might be a good pick for you if you're not allergic to anything, of course. So this is oil-based. It says shake well before applying. I got the shade Fair Warm 1. And you know, Baremineral shades are kind of like, they just like don't have good shades in terms of if you have like a very strong type of undertone, like if you're olive tone or like a mix of stuff, it's really hard to find one that matches. They run either really yellow or really peachy or really pink. So I always go with the warm ones because they match me the best, but they're still not like great matches. And it does say to apply this with your hands, but I did already try that in a little short I made about this if you haven't seen it. I want to try it with a brush today. As you can tell, very, very liquidy formula. I'm using a BK Beauty 101 brush, which is this slanted, very sort of dense brush. So I'm just stippling it into my brush and then onto the face. This does smell like it's not scented, so it kind of just smells like makeup, if you know what I'm saying, which doesn't bother me. It's actually giving me a lot of coverage with this brush. So this foundation is really interesting for sure. The reason that I don't use a sponge is because with an oil-based formula, as you know, oil and water don't mix, and when your sponge does have some dampness to it, it probably won't work out for the best. You can still use this if you really squeeze it out just to sort of smooth things out, but I do think with the brush it gave me a lot of coverage. The weird thing about this foundation though is I have tried it with like nothing underneath it, and even when you shake it really well, sometimes the pigment just doesn't seem to like mix, so you kind of have to mix it on your face. That might be why they suggest applying it with your hands to sort of like mix that in, because just an oil-based formula and because it doesn't have a lot of added ingredients, it's probably just like not fully emulsified, I guess is the word for it. It does have a very like glowy satin finish. It feels so weightless on the skin though, which I really like. It really doesn't feel like I have anything on my skin. I do have some dry skin on my nose though, and it doesn't look great on that, but we'll see. Let's do the other side. So I used about a pump on that side of my cheek, going in with another pump, which was a little bit much. Just to pick up some extra product, I am gonna go in with a sponge, but I really made sure to wring out all the water. I think this looks really decent on the skin. If you have dry skin, you might love this, but it also doesn't look the best over dry patches. So that's where I'm kind of torn with this. It's not my favorite. I haven't been reaching for it a ton, but it makes sense. I am more on the oily side. I just really wanted to try it, but it feels really nice and lightweight. It might be worth a try if you've maybe liked things in the past, like the Kosas Tinted Face Oil or other sort of like oil-based products. It might be a good one. Not my absolute favorite, but I'm not surprised. Next, we have some really exciting new launches from Iconic London here. So they released these 2-in-1. They're an under eye corrector and also a concealer. So on one end you have this twist up corrector, and then in here you have a little itty bitty concealer. I have 3 shades. I'll swatch them in case you need that. I also really want to see if these correctors are actually a different shade for every shade. So it looks like all of these do have the same corrector shade in them. I'm wondering if for each category of sort of skin depth that they deepen this or sort of alter the color. I hope so, because this definitely wouldn't work on everybody, but these are all the fair shades. Over here is the neutral fair shade, and then next to that one we have the warm fair, and then the one on the bottom here is cool fair. I think I'm gonna go with the warm fair one over here because I do have a slight tan going on. So I do like the shape of this corrector. I will say it's really emollient, way more moisturizing feeling than I was expecting. So it concerns me a little bit that it's going to sort of sink into lines, but we will see. We do have a lot of emollient products going on today, so it kind of works. I'm blending this in with my fingers. I feel like these types of formulas just work best that way. And it does have a little bit of a shimmer in it as well, which is really interesting because it is going to correct and brighten at the same time. I think if you have dry under eyes, this really moisturizing corrector might be great for you. Actually looks pretty nice. Before we do the concealer though, I want to dip into this cream bronzer. This is from Mob Beauty. It is their M77 cream bronzer. Yet to try this, I've just swatched it, so let's see how it goes. I'm first going to apply it with this little dense Luxie brush. This is the large fluff brush. Just really nice for getting like a precise application. Not exactly sure how pigmented this is gonna be, so we'll start off with a little bit. It actually seems to be a really nice neutrally brown. I'm gonna do a slight contour with it on my nose. Yeah, the shade looks great. It's not pulling orange at all. Now I'm blending with the BK Beauty 106 brush, just sort of a dense buffing brush. And I'm gonna work this in. Ooh, I am really loving this shade, I must say. It's not too pigmented. Feels like it's more on that balmy side of pigmentation. If you're looking for something to really pack in pigment, this might not be the best pick. But if you have fair skin like me and you kind of have trouble with a bronzer shade, this was gorgeous and really easy to use. I'm usually not a huge cream person, so intriguing. I know a lot of you tell me to try their olive cream foundation. I don't know. Cream foundations most of the time do not work for me, but I would be open to trying it. If you really want me to try it, let me know. So let's try on the Iconic London liquid concealer over the corrector that we have. I hope that these work together. This one is like the concealer is definitely more hydrating feeling versus it being thick and moisturizing like the corrector was. This feels like I could use my sponge to blend it in. Okay, that looks pretty good. I was a little worried that it might separate with the oil-based foundation. I feel like it actually stuck to my under eye, and the coverage I would say is more on the medium side. You know, sometimes with these thin hydrating concealers, they just like blend away basically, especially with a sponge. This one is looking nice. So let's talk about this One Size Ultra Pink powder. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while now. So this is their ultimate setting powder in the ultra pink shade, which has sort of been like a trendy thing on social media. I was just super curious to see if it would work for fair skin because I know I love this powder. I tried the original one and it was beautiful, and I was like, okay, let me try the pink one out. I kind of almost regret getting this. So I did find a way that I could use it though. They're not lying, it is ultra pink. The thing is with my undertones, the olive undertones, this can just make my like skin tone look off very easily. It's almost just too dark for my under eyes. I feel like if they made an ultra like pastel version of this, it would work if you have very fair skin. But let me show you how I have found a way to use this. First, we need to go in with a different powder. So I'm going to use the Laura Mercier Ultra Brightening Powder, which is a very truly translucent powder. It has a little bit of like a shimmer in it. Really great for like HD type of makeup. I also picked up these little powder puffs from Amazon because I heard they were supposed to be good. I don't know if I got the wrong brand or something, but these, first off, this one already has a hole in it. Even the ones that don't have a hole, where the edges are sort of connected, it has this really rough feeling edge, like they just weren't finished very nice. So when you go in with this on your under eye, it actually sort of like scratches it and can pick up makeup. So I would not recommend this one. I got the like highly rated one. I don't know if people are getting like a different experience. It's just not great. I have this Makeup Forever one and it just feels so much smoother. It's way better. Kind of a regret for these. Don't recommend. Before we set, because that foundation was oil-based, it really just sinks into things pretty easily. So you just have to make sure that you blend before you set anything. So I have that powder on my powder puff. And I'm just going to press that into my under eye. I feel like a lot of people talk about the original Laura Mercier powder, but if you're looking for one that's very translucent and actually brightening, the Ultra Brightening one is a really good one to check out. It comes in this smaller container. Oh, this is the Secret Brightening, not Ultra Brightening. I usually don't use it on my face, but for the under eyes, it's great. I mean, you could really just tell the difference. It actually brightens because the original Laura Mercier powder does have that light yellowy tint to it. So if you are as fair as me, it does slightly darken the under eyes, which is not ideal. I really like a lot of Laura Mercier products. I'm interested in trying more from them. I don't think I've ever tried their foundations, and they have that like, I think the weightless like one with the white cap looks really nice. I don't know how my battery is almost dying. I just charged it. Doing a little bit just on my forehead and a little bit on my chin as well. All right, it's sort of a mini bake. So while that's baking, how I like to use the One Size Ultra Pink powder is sort of like a transition powder, I guess you would say. Here's what it looks like. Probably won't be able to see it that well. It is ultra pink. I mean, the camera's making it look a little bit lighter. Yeah, it looks more pink in person. It's almost like a blush shade for me. That's how pink it is, which, I mean, they didn't lie. They said it was ultra pink, so I blame myself mostly for thinking that this could work. So what I'm gonna do is take a Luxie tapered highlighter brush, which just has this dome shape to it. Take the powder. This is such a nice powder formula though. Get it sort of worked into the brush. And then I like to place it right on my under eye. I've realized that I don't like it sort of in my inner corner. It just makes me look sick a little bit. It's just too pink for me. But as a transition, like you can tell, it almost just looks like a blush. I really wanted to find a way to use this so it was not a totally wasted purchase, and thankfully I did. I do enjoy it as a little blush transition. I think you might really like this if you are darker than me. If you're as fair as me, it's just too pink unfortunately, but it does look really pretty on the skin. If they made like an ultra pastel like lavender shade almost, I feel like that would be really beautiful for fair skin. But I tried it. Not a total hit. Maybe looks good on camera for social media, but in terms of like real life makeup, it just doesn't work. I also picked up their Stage White Powder Foundation because, I don't know, if you make a powder foundation that's white, I'm buying it because I've been looking for something like this forever to just brighten areas of the face. When you're fair, sometimes just even the lightest shade is not brightening. I like to take this on a little brush. It's the Real Techniques setting brush. This is such an OG brush, and I just take a little bit of the powder foundation while I'm still baking. And I just like to highlight the areas I want to be brighter. I actually go right on top of that powder, tops of the cheekbones. When it mixes in with that pink, it just makes like a really nice, like it actually sculpts my face. I've tried this under my eyes, it's just a little bit too thick for me. Also makes a really great little highlight to sculpt under your contour or bronzer. I think this was just such a great launch for like theater makeup, drag makeup, or if you just have fair skin and literally nothing is ever light enough, try a white product. They're life-changing. It does of course add some coverage as well because it's a powder foundation. Just to set the rest of the face, because I really need to with these oily foundations, I'm gonna take the number 7 Lift and Illuminate Finishing Powder in Light. I got this because it was supposed to be a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury one, and I got it from recommendation off of Taylor Wynn, I believe. Okay, it's really bad on my under eyes. I think it's pretty decent on the face, but I'm pretty sure it's just not my favorite in general. I really love her channel, but I think we just have such different skin types. Every time I try a recommendation from her, it usually doesn't end up working for me, which is just really interesting, but also goes to show why, like, if you watch a variety of YouTubers, finding that one person has like a similar skin tone but also skin type to yours that you can like really relate to in terms of product preferences is nice. So I still watch her videos, but for her actual like foundation powder recommendations, I usually steer clear. We just have different skin types, and it really goes to show how like makeup can look so different on different people depending on your skin and everything. So moving on, I do want to add a little bit more bronzer with this Juvia's Place one. This is a powder bronzer. Just haven't used this in a while and I wanted to pull it out. Luxie 514 says it's a blush brush. It's my favorite bronzer brush. I'm going in with the more neutral shade here. Sort of using this as an additional color boost to that cream bronzer because that was really nice, but it also wasn't very pigmented. So I like to layer up a little bit. I think I desperately need some color back in my face. I pulled out the Laura Geller Baked Blush-N-Brighten Pink Buttercream. I haven't really tried this one yet. I love a baked blush. Flower Beauty blush brush, my favorite blush brush. Looks like it's gonna be a nice, maybe slightly warmer pink. Ooh, I love baked blushes so much. Just give you the perfect amount of glow. If you have textured skin, I really can't recommend a baked blush more. They just don't accentuate texture. Okay, that actually wasn't as warm as I thought. It looks really pretty. I think that pink transition powder really helped everything blend together too. Also, if you go heavy-handed with the blush, you could go back in with the ultra pink powder and blend in the edges, so it's nice to fix things if you go overboard, or you could use it before like I did just to prevent that from happening basically. All right, I'm feeling like we can brush off this extra powder now. That's looking pretty good. I feel like the iconic London corrector really helped to brighten things up. Formula set down really nicely. That white powder foundation just like helped to brighten and sculpt even more. I don't know why I'm doing this. Not a new highlight, but I cannot put down the Dior highlighting palette. I really only use 1 to 2 shades in here for an actual highlight. This white, this is just the prettiest. Like, it's actually a quite strong highlight. You have to be kind of careful with it. That's why I like using this fan brush. It just gives you a super pretty glow. This does have like a goldish undertone, which usually doesn't work for me, but something about it, I feel like they just really nailed this formula. And I've been loving taking like a lot on the tip of my nose just to give you that like cute glowy look. All right, we had a brief intermission. My battery died and I did my brows off camera. It's actually new to me. This is the Maybelline Express Brow Ultra Slim Pencil. I got the shade Taupe, so I did pick this up on my trip. I ran out of my brow pencil, and I don't really have like a go-to drugstore pencil. I really like the NYX brow pencil, but the Taupe is like a little bit too gray for me. So I always pick based on if they have a taupe shade or not. I will not risk it with the blonde shades. They're always way too warm. So I saw this and it actually looked like a really good shade, and honestly it's one of my favorite shades of brow pencil. I also love this formula. It's just super easy. I don't like complicating my brows because I don't love doing them, so it's just nice and slim. Throw it on. I really honestly don't think like getting a high-end brow pencil is usually worth it with how quick we go through them too. So that one I really recommend. If you need a good one, check the Maybelline one out. But now we're moving on to eyes. I want to do something a little bit warmer, you know, like fall vibes, and I just use cool tones so often. I was like, let's switch it up. So I have this palette from Melt. This is the Vita palette. Don't think they still make it. It's so cool though. I really like Melt eyeshadows. I feel like they're kind of underrated. The color palette is really cool. I'm gonna stick to these neutrals here. This is actually quite like a neutral warm shade, so I feel like it'll be really flattering. And these are like the most beautiful creamy matte. Okay. Forgot how pigmented these are. I'm gonna use this as a transition shade. I just put a little bit of powder on my lids. I used to put concealer on my lids to sort of cancel out any discoloration, but my eyelids get so oily. Usually it just makes my eyeshadow like wear away and crease up. So lately I've just been doing powder and it ends up looking way better. See, just that beautiful like mustardy brown. I'm just gonna take that on a small shader brush. Small shader just to blend on the lower half of my eye. A little bit of a smaller brush. Just gonna build that up a little bit more. I do have a new cream eyeshadow to try out though that I'm pretty excited about. Whole summer I was really into like liquid and cream shadows just because they last, especially if you have oily eyelids. They're like the only thing that will last on your eyes. I'm just so glad it's like finally cooling down so my makeup will stay on my face. Sometimes summer makeup is just hard to get right, you know? Okay, really liking these tones. I'm kind of like so tempted to go green, but that's not the plan. Oh, I almost forgot. Brow gel. I do have some new ones to talk about. So I've been trying 2 of them. One is actually new. This I think has been around for a little bit, but the Milk Kush Clear Brow Gel. Not really impressed by it. It's very basic. The mascara I don't like. Didn't love this. It's a nice like clear formula. I like the little tiny brush. It just doesn't really give me enough hold. But Jones Road just released these brow gels that have a clear and a tinted one. You know I'm not usually a fan of Jones Road. They're so like mostly missed for me, let's be honest. Not a ton of hits there. But I really like this brow gel formula. I've been using the clear one. It has a bit of a bigger brush. I don't know if you can see the texture on the top. You know how some brow gels are just liquid? This one is an actual like gel formula. And it gives you the, like it actually holds your brows in place without being too wet or too like crunchy. Honestly, really nice job, Jones Road. I know I don't always speak very highly of you, but this is a nice product. Just set down my brows. I feel like it picks up a really nice amount of product too, and packaging is simple but pretty nice looking. Okay, I'm actually dipping back into the Melt palette, and I'm gonna take this slightly darker, it actually has a green undertone to it, brown. I just want to deepen that outer corner before we go in with the cream. It's like green undertone neutrals are really nice. Speaking of neutrals, I did order the Natasha Denona palette. My first Natasha palette I was holding out because I was just waiting for like that perfect color story that I really loved, and they released, what even is the name of it? I think it's the I Need a Nude palette. I'm obsessed with it. I feel like it's more on the cool side for sure. It looks really nice for fair skin, but still pretty neutral, like doesn't pull too cool. I'm really excited to try them. I have tried like her mini palettes, but never my own big neutral palette. So of course I'll be doing a video on it, really excited. If you do have a Natasha palette, I'd love to know which one you have and what you think of it. I'm intrigued for sure, especially with the new like wet shimmer shades. I'm also just going back in with that same shade, deepen that outer corner. I'm gonna go a little bit heavier on the eyeshadow today. I haven't been wearing a ton in the summer, so I feel like the fall transition is feeling like a smoky, little bit of a darker eye than I usually do. Let's move on to this cream. This is the Smashbox Always On Cream Eyeshadow. Never tried this before. This is the shade Guava, which is a really nice like terracotta. It's a warm, I guess it's sort of neutral. You'll see it when I put it on the lids. I'm gonna use a Luxie large shader. This is such a nice brush for cream eyeshadows if you don't want to use your finger. I'm gonna start and blend this all over the lid. This is a matte finish. Ooh, that's blending in really nicely. You know, sometimes they like dry too quickly or just get a little bit goopy. I saw that Merit has those new like cream eyeshadows, which I'm interested in, but I almost wish they made like a shimmery one. I don't think there's any shimmery ones, at least that are like on the lighter side. I don't know, I just don't usually wear one single shade all over the lid as I'm doing that now, but we're gonna layer it. A little bit more red than I thought, but I think we can make it work. Yeah, this eyeshadow is interesting. It's, I guess I would describe it as like a soft matte formula. It almost feels like if you've ever tried like a blurring lip product, it kind of has that kind of like consistency and look to it, where it's not ultra pigmented. It's more of like a blur of color. I'm also taking whatever's left over and just blending it on the inner portion of my lower lash line. For a matte cream eyeshadow, I think it blended out very smoothly. It doesn't have like this patchy look to it. Very intriguing. So I'm gonna of course do a little bit of a topper shade. I'm gonna use the ColourPop Cheap Date. This is the Super Shock Shadow. It's an ultra glitter. It's a really cool, what do you call this kind of gold? It's not a super warm gold, it's almost that like muted gold. Anyway, taking that on my finger, and I think I'm gonna focus this on the center. I feel like this, oh, that looks really pretty. Feeling like it will go really well with this grungy red. The eyeshadow did dry down, by the way. It basically just looks like a powder now. Did get a lot of fallout, but what I actually like about the ultra glitters is it brushes away pretty easily because the particles are a little bit on the chunkier side. I'm liking this. Kind of is looking like a Christmas tree to me for some reason. Not yet. Not yet. Next, going back into the Dior palette, I'm just going to use the white shimmery shade. Love this shade for the face, like I mentioned, but also for the inner corner. and the brow bone. I feel like this look needs some brightness. I feel like I almost want to enhance the red on the inner and outer corner. So I'm going to take this very bright color, but I'm going to take just the slightest amount of it just to tap over that. Yeah, I'm feeling that little boost of red. I'm going to go back in and actually do the outer corner as well with the same red. And I know this is a really bright red, but when you put it over the muted neutrals, it does mute it down. All right, I'm feeling this look. It's different, it's fun. Very different from what I've been doing lately. I do feel like I want a nice liquid liner though. I'm gonna use the Hard Candy Stroke of Gorgeous. This one's a metallic brown. These are really good liquid liners, by the way. They are a pen tip. So I did a wing, but I stopped where I put that gold shade basically on the center of my eye. Not only does that sort of draw more attention to the gold highlight that we have, but just like how it looks in my eye shape a little bit better versus going all the way in. I do want to smoke this out a little bit though because I feel like it always looks better. So going back into this Melt palette, I'm going to take the chocolate shade, which is a very true muted, very pigmented brown. And then to make everything look ultra sharp and professional, a little tip, you could take a powder foundation. I'm going to take the white one from one size and then a shadow brush. I actually meant to grab this one with sort of a firmer brush, go right under that wing, and it cleans up that like extra bit of eyeshadow from the lower lash line, and it also helps sculpt your wing out. And because I'm using this white one, it does add like a lifting, highlighting effect too. I actually have a new mascara, so more products from Smashbox. I have the Photo Finish Extension Nourishing Lash Primer and their new Superfan Mascara. Start with the primer. I usually don't use lash primers, but this one is really interesting. It almost looks like a lotion. It is like super thickening though. Now onto the Superfan Mascara. This has one of those plastic like short bristle brushes, which I usually really like. And I guess, spoiler alert, not really. I love this mascara. You know me and like high-end mascaras, they're usually like 98% of the time, I feel like high-end mascaras are not worth it. But look at this one. That was one coat. I know it had the lash primer, but this looks beautiful and also it wears well. Usually my number one problem is most mascaras, usually high-end, will flake, will smudge, and it's like, that's not worth it if I have a Maybelline mascara that I like. This one is really pretty. My camera battery died once again. So the Smashbox Superfan Mascara, I don't know if I said the name of it. I do have lashes on, but I want to show you what this looks like on its own. So I'll insert a clip I took on my phone. With the primer, it's even more dramatic, but it's really beautiful on its own. This is actually high-end Lindsey approved mascara. Besides like the Thrive one, I really haven't tried a high-end mascara that I like other than this one. So that's high accolades for that. I don't think the primer is totally necessary, but it does amp it up. These lashes, I was feeling like a lash, and these are so dramatic. You know when you don't wear a lash for a long time and you're like, wow, that's a lot of lashes. The Kiss Sister Nature, these are the sage ones. These are just the pieces I cut off. These look like if you took two wispies, maybe even I would say two regular wispies from Ardell, not demi wispies, and stacked them on top of each other. It has that exact same shape and sort of taper to the lash, which I really like. So if you wanted a wispy but like extra drama, this would be a really nice pair to try, because it does say fluffy and wispy finish. These are 100% natural hair. It's actually a little weird. What are they made out of? Squirrel?
That girl's got some serious squirrels in her pants.
There's squirrels in my pants!
Tell me what's making you jump like that.
I do also have a nude lip liner on. Nude Truffle from NYX. You know I love these. I love this shade. We're doing a bit of a darker lip today, but I need to talk about two of my long-wearing lip products I've been obsessed with so much. First, lip stains have been trending a little bit. I don't see anybody talking about these, so I need to. Flower Beauty lip stains. These are the Bitten lip stains. These are so good. I've had this one in play for a long time, which is sort of a red. I will swatch these for you. It's actually more of a berry, sorry. More of a berry. And then I picked up this new one on vacation because I finally saw it in store, Sass, which is more of a like very purpley pink. So these are hydrating, they're moisturizing. What I do is paint them on, let them sit on my lips, and then what you can do is either remove the excess and then you could put more lipstick on top of it, so when your lipstick wears off you still have an even color underneath. Or you can wear them on their own with a lip liner and a gloss, and they look so gorgeous and they last forever. It does not get patchy. I've tried the Victoria Beckham lip stain. That one on me, the shade was really unflattering and it also just got patchy on me. But I love the Flower Beauty ones because they don't dry out your lips and they have a lot more shades to choose from and they're a lot more flattering in my opinion and more affordable. So really, really recommend those ones. If you want a lip stain, check those out. Next, we have some new shades of this lip product and yes, I've been loving these. You may be shocked if you watched my worst makeup video. I mentioned these and I need to formally apologize to Urban Decay for talking the crap about these, but they sent over new shades and I was like, they look so pretty, let me try them out. And it was really user error, or I think the shades that I had before also were a little bit patchy. They're kind of a little bit finicky to work with, but this one, OG Back Talk, I have been using almost every single day. Let me swatch it for you. It's the Perfect Cool Neutral. So there's OG Back Talk. Literally perfect neutral shade. The way to use these is you have to apply them and then literally do not touch your lips together for quite a while until they're dry, or else they end up drying a little bit patchy. And that's kind of where I was going wrong, is I wasn't letting them dry before I put my lips together, and that's when they get sticky and patchy looking. So the other new shades we have are Love Ya Back Talk, which is more of like a plummy deeper shade. And I think I'm gonna have to use this one in the middle, which is like the ultimate fall shade in my opinion. Give 'em Back Talk, which is, she's just gorgeous. So let me show you how I apply these. So the darker shades do sort of lean on the patchier side depending on how you apply them. You really have to keep it in like a thin coat and not try to layer it up. So these aren't a perfect formula, but what's so interesting is they're like a vinyl lip. So when they do dry down, this level of sheen stays there and they feel like pretty moisturizing, but they just last so long. They're really gorgeous and I did say I hated them. Like I said, they're not perfect, but the new shades that they have, in the way that you can apply them, they take a little bit more time. They can be finicky. You have to let them dry and not put your lips together. It's like instinctual to like do that to blend it out, but literally do not touch it and let it dry. Oh my god, the shade is so pretty. Really recommend the Back Talk line. The undertones are beautiful. And I just feel like this is the perfect fall look. Really unique to have a liquid lipstick that's not matte or drying either. I'm really glad I gave these another chance because I've been loving them. Okay, to set, this isn't really a setting spray. You can use anything as a setting spray, any mist. The Pixie Dreamy Mist Jasmine and Lavender. This is supposed to be like an overnight mist, but I love the smell of it so much. I love lavender that I was like, I'm gonna use this as a makeup setting mist. The Pixie misters are really nice. Oh my god, it smells so good. Honestly has like very similar ingredients to their setting mist for makeup, so it works the same, I would say. Honestly obsessed with this look. It is way more dramatic than makeup I've been wearing in months, which was so needed, bringing me into fall. The tones, perfect. So now that this is dry, you can put your lips together and it doesn't sort of patch up. I will say I don't love this Bareminerals foundation though. It just sinks into lines so easily. Even when I like set it, it does look really, really nice everywhere else and does not feel like anything. So like I mentioned before, if you have dry skin, it might be worth a shot. But in terms of like oily skin, if you have problems with things settling into fine lines, it might be a skip. I think these iconic London duos look really pretty too. I was a little nervous about the creaminess of the under eye corrector, but I do love this 2-in-1 format. It would be just beautiful for travel. Jones Road Brow Gel, also a surprise hit. Don't usually love anything from this brand. It's everything I could want from a brow gel. This Mob Beauty bronzer was also a surprise hit. It doesn't look like much and the shade looked like it might be a little bit warm. On my skin, I feel like it just was so flattering and I really like the more balmy type of cream formula. Hope you were able to get some fall inspo. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll meet you in my next video, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my Natasha Denona palette try on. But I will see you in my next one. Bye.